Avast ye landlubbers, venture with me to the high seas as we take a deep dive into Flesh and Blood's newest set. Grab your gold doubloons and join me at the bottom of the briny depths as me pirate crew rises from its watery grave. The newest Flesh and Blood set, High Seas, is themed around pirates, treasure, and general swashbuckling skullduggery. High Seas contains two new classes, the long-awaited Pirate and Necromancer, both of which can be found on Gravy Bones' Shipwrecked Looter. Pirates feature a number of effects that make, steal, or otherwise care about gold tokens. The Necromancer class interacts directly with the graveyard, something few other classes have access to. In the case of Gravy Bones here, he can let you play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard. We'll get to that in a second. In addition to Pirate and Necromancer, High Seas also features the return of Ranger, with Marilyn, Treasure Hunter, and Mechanologist with Puffin Hightail and her faithful companion, Polly Cranka. As a reminder, Rangers will often use bow-type weapons, like this harpoon cannon here, to fire arrows at their opponents. Arrows can only be played from Arsenal, so it's up to you to figure out how to get arrows into Arsenal as much as possible to open fire. Mechanologists rely on items and other contraptions to power up their gameplay, like this golden cog here. In High Seas, Mechanologists create and use golden cogs in creative ways to power up their other cards. All of the pirate heroes in High Seas rely on gold tokens in some way. Gravy Bones churns through cards, Puffin converts them into golden cogs, and Marilyn makes golden harpoons. Gold tokens can also be used along with two resources to draw a card, which will trigger Marilyn to get those harpoons into her arsenal and attack. Keep an eye on your gold supply, cause a broke pirate is a dead pirate. The most noteworthy addition to High Seas is the introduction of the tap symbol. Players have been informally turning their cards sideways for years to show the use of once per turn effects, but now it's an official mechanic in the game. Like in other card games, tapping a card to pay a cost involves turning it 90 degrees to show that it has been used and is now tapped. You can't tap something that's already tapped. Unlike other card games, there's no summoning sickness in Flesh and Blood, so you can tap a card the same turn it comes into play. The tap symbol also brings along with it the inverse operation, untapping, which can be represented by the untap symbol. Untapping means turning the card back to its original position so that it can be used again. So, with sufficient untap effects, these abilities can be used more than once per turn. During your end phase, you untap all cards you control, letting you use them again on the next turn. Untapping happens after you put your pitched cards on the bottom of your deck, but before you draw back up. You can only untap your permanents at the end of your turn, so if you use them on your opponent's turn, you'll have to wait until the end of your turn to untap. Watery Grave is the marquee mechanic for the Necromancer, and can be found in Reanimated Pirate Allies. It's a replacement effect that states when this is put into your graveyard from the arena, turn it face down. Watery Grave only applies when the card leaves the arena, not if it's discarded, destroyed from the top of the deck, or otherwise moves from any other zone to the graveyard. Cards that trigger the Watery Grave clause are still in your graveyard, just face down. When a card is turned face down in your graveyard, consider it super dead. It has no properties and can't be interacted with in most cases, unless a card or effect explicitly references a face down card. Face down cards are also private information, so you can look at them, but your opponent can't. As a reminder, allies are permanent combatants in the arena. They have power, health, can attack, and can be attacked. If they are attacked, you can't block for them or use defense reactions. Your ally is on its own. If your ally accumulates enough damage to reduce their life total to 0, they die and are moved to the graveyard. However, if your allies survive the turn, they are healed to full during the end phase and can continue to fight on the next turn. Like any good pirate adventure, stealing is also highly encouraged. Effects appear in High Seas that allow you to give control of or steal an object from an opponent. When an effect instructs you to steal from an opponent, you choose what to steal and gain control of. Likewise, if you give an item to an opponent, you choose what to give and your opponent gains control of it. Giving something doesn't count as stealing, even if you feel robbed. Objects remain as they were when they were stolen or gifted, so if you steal a tapped item, it stays tapped. Even if you steal something, you are required to give it back at the end of the game. Otherwise, that's actual stealing and that's like a crime or something. Go Fish's label for abilities found on Pirate Ranger harpoons, which read as, when this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it meets a condition, they discard it and you create a gold token. If you've activated a cannon this turn, instead, look at their hand and you choose the card. This effect will only apply on hit, and if you haven't fired a cannon when you go fishing, your opponent will likely show you a card that doesn't meet the condition, so you don't get the benefit. So try to use a cannon, such as Hammerhead Harpoon, before attempting to reel in a big one to make sure you get full value out of your attack. High Tide is a static ability found on pirate actions, such as Conqueror of the High Seas, which provides some effect if there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone. Cards can be pitched before damage or other effects have resolved, so you can pitch cards strategically to turn on High Tide. Remember, cards can only be pitched to pay for costs, not just because you feel like it. So to turn on High Tide, you will need to pay for something with your blues. High Seas Limited features the return of the macro type, last seen in Rosetta. Treasure Island is a new macro for High Seas Limited, such as Booster Draft or pre-release sealed event. They're not cards or tokens, and if they would be destroyed or leave the arena anyway, they simply cease to exist. They offer exciting effects to spice up limited gameplay. Players start the game with a shared copy of Treasure Island in the arena. This is not optional and can't be forgotten. If you notice that a copy of the macro is left off to the side, call a judge to help fix the situation and get it back into the game. Treasure Island evokes the mad dash of pirates trying to search an island for buried treasure. By collecting a gold counter the first time a hero is attacked each turn. That counts both when you attack and when your opponent attacks, so the gold should stack up pretty quickly. X marks the spot whenever you or one of your undead allies finally land a hit on your opponent, allowing you to convert the gold counters on Treasure Island into gold tokens. If the damage is blocked or prevented, it isn't dealt and won't trigger Treasure Island, leaving you high and dry without any gold. You only collect gold from Treasure Island for the damage dealt when your attack hits. So if you only get over for 1, that's only 1 gold token from Treasure Island, not the whole trove. Remember, there is only 1 Treasure Island between you and your opponent. So pay attention in case gold starts piling up. Be ready to go in for a big attack to try and cash out and collect that booty. Perched is a keyword found on ally companions like Sticky Fingers here. It allows your companion to be equipped at the start of the game in addition to a 2-handed weapon. While equipped, they can't be attacked but can otherwise be targeted by damaging cards and effects. Once unequipped, usually from their own ability, they can be attacked like any other ally. What's a scurv? A stowaway! Scurv is a stowaway and does not have a basic rarity. That means that in limited formats you must open him in one of your sealed packs or draft him from a booster. If you don't find a copy, you can't play him. He has a variety of unique thief and specialization cards at his disposal, as well as the ability to turn gold into rum, so keep an eye out for this rascally scallywag. Returning from bright lights, we crank! Found on mechanologist items, cards with crank will enter with some number of steam counters, and you may remove a steam counter as it enters to gain 1 action point. If you remove a steam counter in this way, you are considered to have cranked, and the card has been cranked. The cogs in High Seas all have crank, and will ask you to remove a steam counter at the start of your turn or destroy it. We also have the return of Galvanize. Galvanize is a label for an ability that triggers when you defend with the card, and gives you the opportunity to destroy an item you control to gain some benefit. This can include getting extra defense, creating new golden cogs, or other abilities yet to be seen. This is always an optional effect, so you don't have to sacrifice an item if you don't want to. You also can't do it if you don't have an item to destroy. And there you have it. All the information you need to start your adventure at the High Seas pre-release. Get out there, scallywags, and find ye some buried treasure. Yarr!